good morning, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you tune. So we reviewed the Harley Street Rod a couple of months ago now, and I said at the time there's going to be some more coming up. Today we've got a demo day in the afternoon being held by a company called CooperB Motorcycles, who are a distributor for Royal Enfield. Now Royal Enfield, as you probably know, are an old British manufacturer, and they moved production over to India in the 1960s. Their range has largely settled around being based on the same sort of frame and single cylinder layout since then, but there is a lot of investment gone into Royal Enfield recently. There's all sorts of rumours of what's coming up, but at the moment we're just going to go and try one of their existing range of bikes to see what it's like to ride the most authentic retro bike out there. So here we go, the Royal Enfield. Let's see. So here we go, this is the Royal Enfield. So this is a 500cc fuel injected single. Never ridden anything like this before at all. So well, there we go. So what's my first thoughts? It's solid feeling actually, which is an interesting surprise. Very hard to draw any conclusions at the moment. However, it feels a lot sturdier than I thought it would. So we'll see how this progresses. So we've got a group of us now. This is like a dealer demo day. There's a group of us going out. I've not experienced, maybe Harley riders might have done, but I've not experienced before anything with this kind of pulsing at idle, because it's obviously quite a big single, but it's got a nice easy clutch, it's comfortable, and the footrests are in a nice position as well. So this is a very different type of motorcycling to what I'm used to. But it's not unpleasant, it's certainly not unpleasant. It's very characterful. Nice little pop there through the exhaust. Easy light handling, which is nice. And the engine responds. It's very hard really to know what sort of RPM you're doing, but of course that's really not particularly relevant with a bike like this. The whole line of it is to ride along, enjoy the scenery and look around. So it's surprising already, maybe not surprising depending on your viewpoint, how different this is to the Harley V-Rod. The V-Rod is a little bit more expensive, but not awfully, but it's a very different feeling kind of bike. Now if you're living in a rural area, particularly a country like the UK or anywhere in Europe, and you want something to take it easy and have a nice relaxing ride, this actually could be exactly what you're looking for. But it's it certainly feels similar and different to what I was expecting. The ride feels nice. It's got a sprung saddle on this version, and the bikes look great. I've got to say that is one of my first impressions. The bikes look absolutely great. I would say it's the ultimate retro bike, but they've not really ever changed them in any serious way. So is it a retro bike, or is it a bike that's become retro organically? But the ride feels okay, the brakes were nice and responsive. Yes, you don't expect anything to be race bike sharp, because it's not that type of bike, but it's got a nice little bit of torque there, even from low RPM, and a nice little touch there is the Royal Enfield logo on the fuel warning gauge lights up as well, and that's very reminiscent of old Wolseleys from the 1950s in the UK. But the one thing I've noticed at the moment is it's hard to spot an indicator warning light, which is possibly a down the side depending on your view, so you just have to be a bit diligent on your indicators. I've already managed to leave them on a couple of times, but I'm sure we'll soon get around that. I definitely could see this as being a very relaxing way to ride a motorcycle, and it is super easy to ride. We're only doing what, 45 miles an hour, but it's super easy to ride, and it's comfortable and it's easy handling. It's given me no surprises yet at all. And as with the Harley Street Rod, one of the things I would point out, it does not feel, for want of a better term, like it's made in India. And It's actually a very pleasant machine. There is, of course, as you would expect, plenty of vibration. We're in top gear now, and there is plenty of vibration going on, but it's a big 500 single, 535cc I believe it is, so it isn't going to be super smooth. And I'm actually kind of glad it isn't super smooth, because it hasn't been sanitised down, and it feels like they've actually built it to be a Royal Enfield, not to try and be a Royal Enfield clone. So I think they've actually done a good job of leaving the character in. This is, I would suggest, very much a motorised version of a Morgan, or a two-wheeled version of Morgan. It has that sort of time forgot feeling, and this was the soundtrack of 1950s and 1960s Britain. Every morning the roads are full of bikes like this, riding to and from every factory, workshop, office, you name it. This was what the industrial part of Britain was built on, vehicles like this. And you can feel this history riding it. You can feel, I kind of almost imagine brick stacks and chimneys either side of me and going home for a plate of chips and so forth. And I kind of feel like I am in 1963, and it's not unpleasant. It's the one thing that strikes me is it is bigger than I thought it was going to be. It actually does feel like a full-size grown-up bike, and I kind of had an imagery in my mind of it being toy-like and small, but it's not. And frankly, the gears are largely pointless, because you can just leave it more or less in top. I mean, I downshifted for that corner, and as soon as I did it, I thought, well, there's really not a lot of reason to. It's very hard to get an estimation of the horsepower. I believe they're only about 50 or so, but that's more than adequate. And the reason is because you don't really have any reference points. It's so unlike any other modern bike out there. And again, you have to remember that this is a brand new bike. Came off the showroom floor and off the production line very, very recently. I mean, this one has less than 700 miles on the clock, and this is a demonstrator, so this one actually has been used a little bit, and it's feeling good. It's not too bouncy, it's not too wallowy and springy, and yeah, I mean, engine braking's not quite as excessive as I thought it was going to be. I must admit, I was expecting more Ducati-like engine braking, but it's not, and it's actually quite moderate. And it is, again, that's something that can catch people out if they're not used to this type of bike, but it's just not a problem there. There's quite a lazy ride in that respect, but it's an easy ride, which I'm really enjoying. There's quite a lot of low-end torque, which again, with a 500cc fuel-injected single, you kind of expect there to be. There's quite a lot of low-end torque. What is surprising is the mirrors, although they do vibrate a little bit, never to the point you can't see in them, and they give you a very good view of what's going on, which is always a worry on a single. They're just going to buzz to the point you can't see what's happening. But the mirrors actually are remarkably clear, and although you can feel the bike vibrating, it doesn't make it through the seat, which is interesting. It all goes through the handlebars, but it's not, again, an unpleasant amount. The engine sort of naturally seems to discourage thrashing through to the red line, which is ideal because that works beautifully with what this bike is and what this bike's about. And understand also, the local dealer here, CooperB Motorcycles, that are supplying these bikes today, actually do owner ride-outs, where they meet at the workshop or meet at the facility and go on rides. And I can see that being a very enjoyable and social thing, because you're not going to come across any egos riding a bike like this. This is purely just for the love of being out in the open, and you feel like you should have an open face helmet and enjoying the bugs in your teeth. But it really is really quite different. It's not going to be a bike for everyone, but then you wouldn't expect something like this to be. But on this lovely September evening, on this nice little quiet country road, rolling on and off the throttle with this lovely scenery around, it's actually very, very enjoyable. You're not going to be wanting to do lots of motorway work on this. If you're in the States and you're using lots of freeway, this is probably not going to be the bike for you. But if you're in a rural area and you want to buzz along at 45-55 miles an hour, this could well be perfect. And it's a very authentic feeling bike. I love that little pop through the exhaust as well. It's very, very, very charming. So realistically, the only concession I've got to modernity here is the fact there's a little engine management light next to the fuel warning light. Other than that, it would be near impossible to tell what era this bike is from. And it does disguise its speed actually quite well. It soon, you know, soon makes you feel like you're not going as quickly as you are. So you're not actually pootling along at 10 miles an hour. You're actually making decent progress. Okay, so a few miles in, and done a little bit of runabout. What do I think? Well, this really, as I kind of expected to be honest, challenged my preconceptions to the very core. It's a deceptive bike. It's quicker than you think it is, although it's not fast. You don't be under any illusion of it being a fast bike, but it's not slow. And it's got great character. It's a little taller than I was expecting. Like I said, it physically feels a lot bigger. And I'm 5'7", and I can't flat foot this sat on the floor, so it is a little bit taller than you expect. But it's narrow, light, and the centre of gravity feels very low as well, so that's not intimidating in any way, shape or form. Handles much nicer than I was expecting. Very smooth and precise and predictable. And rather than a riding machine, think of it as a time machine. The engine vibration's there, but it's manageable, it's not excessive. The torque is very accessible, and you practically forget about the gears. It doesn't seem to go any quicker when you rev it than when you're just pootling. But is this the bike for you? Well, I can't answer that. It's a very unique piece of kit, much like a Harley Davidson is a very unique piece of kit, but it is thoroughly enjoyable. I've really surprised myself, and I've been very grateful for this opportunity. So if you're looking for something of this ilk, or you're looking for a bike and you don't know what to get, you just want to try something different, speak to CooperB Motorcycles, go and get out on a test ride, because you need to give this one time, much like the Harley Street Rod we rode recently. It takes a little while to get accustomed to it, but very quickly you start to see all the little quirks and feelings that make this quite unlike anything else. And it's the strangest combination of being very smooth and vibey at the same time, but it feels natural and organic, and yeah, I like it. So there you go. Hit the like and subscribe button if you like these videos. Once again, thank you so much to CooperB Motorcycles. I'm not quite sure if I should lovely traditional English folk music on this or an Indian song, but either way, thank you very much, CooperB Motorcycles. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. And if you're in the market for a different type of bike, particularly if you're a slightly bigger rider, go and try one. Just, you know, go and open your eyes. You might be surprised how capable it is. So I'm going to leave you now. I'm going to just shut up and enjoy the rolling British countryside on an old British institution.